Okay, I should be recording. Did you guys see the icon? I could never find the icon.
We do.
Okay, all right. So I apologize. We started the discussion. I forgot to start the recording. It has now started. Welcome everyone to the February 25th iteration of the MicroProfile Live Hangout. This is a a special working group call. So this is in the off weeks of the normal live Hangout. We just started talking a little bit about the text, the options, which are push and pull. We seem to be okay with that, and a little bit about the clarity of the text, and do we need to make modifications. I do have to say, it is everyone's shared responsibility to take notes. And if you're on this call, please add your name to the meeting minutes as an attendee, as a contributor. So thank you very much, everyone. So Natalie, you have the floor. I apologize, Emily, I apologize for interrupting. You're up.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Yeah, so it's basically I'm trying to say is we had a discussion before the vote. I think it might be a good idea to list these two options on the mailing list to say this is kind of the options we're going to vote on, leave for a couple of days for people to comment if there's no further people are comfortable with this kind of options, and then we start a official vote.
Yep, Emily, you're right on, and that's the action item that I did not do from last year or last week. If you look, I guess if you go down a little bit under minutes, it's highlighted that I was supposed to do that, and I completely forgot. So that absolutely is what we should be doing.
Okay, cool. I forgot.
For me, the pull and push model are clear, but maybe that push model, could we just clarify that it would focus on collaborating with Jakarta EE, between MicroProfile and Jakarta EE?
Well, I see them both as collaborating, right? So it's just a matter of who initiates. It's just a matter. Go ahead.
No, because within the pull model, it just MicroProfile does its own thing, and the rest is up to the other people, and we do not look at them, we do not care about them, we are just doing our own thing. So that's not collaborating for me.
Sure. All right. Well, so I guess when I put both my hats on, I still see them being the same. Either way, I would probably advocate that we make Jakarta versions of the things that we want to use and make them standard in our definition of that, putting my Jakarta hat on. Whether or not it's the MicroProfile saying, hey, this one's ready, or we're on the Jakarta side saying that one looks ready, I view that as almost a detail. And then so then I have to, then for my mental reference, I think to myself, which side is the more natural side to say it's ready? And from that perspective, I feel it's clear for us on the Jakarta side of the fence to go, we have actual need of that now. We like the thing that it's where it's going. We want to incorporate that in specs, and it makes more sense for us to, on the Jakarta side of the fence, for me, to initiate the process and to decide how long it should take, how stable that, what stability would mean on the Jakarta side of the fence. Makes more sense to drive it from that side of the fence, for me personally, than I think it makes sense for the MicroProfile to be driving what stability means for Jakarta. That feels a little awkward. So
yeah, okay.
I see them both as collaborating, but just who's offering the stability shifts.
Yeah, but I think we can all agree that from a MicroProfile perspective, which we are discussing now, what we are going to do is we are looking at our specs, at our versions. So if you say with my Jakarta head on, well, that's not a valid point here then, because that should not be considered in the pull model. So for me, there is indeed a collaboration then, but indeed just Jakarta takes whatever it needs and do whatever it needs to take into account to put it into Jakarta. So for me, the collaboration, a real collaboration in two ways, is only the push model.
Rudy, let me interject here. I think we are confusing the two. 2 calls ago, or 3, I can't remember, we established that MicroProfile will not cater to any project itself because we are not scalable.
That's what's on the vote.
Yes,
that's what
correct.
the vote is about.
Yes, but now I am getting confused with the circular. Maybe I'm not understanding what your point, Rudy. So, or make it shorter, or tell me why X so that I understand the what. Because I don't understand you. I'm lost.
Okay, I try to put it in simple words. Pull model is MicroProfile does his own thing and does not indeed cater anything for any other group, Jakarta or whatever that name may be, whatever group may come up with his interest. So basically, MicroProfile does not create something or propose something as final to whatever other group of people. Push model is that, for instance, between Jakarta and MicroProfile, you work together to not divide the world, and that you come to a solution, and that you both look at each other and look at each other's needs and take care of each other's needs, and maybe adapt some things that you were planned to do and postpone it or do not do it because you care about the other party. So that's real collaboration in the push model, which you do not have in the pull model. Is that
again,
clear?
that's your perspective, right? So I don't agree.
I don't agree either.
And I just want to make sure that we have ways in our votes to describe how we see these models, but ultimately the difference between push or pull is simply who initiates the collaboration. You know, so in my mind, and I know you don't agree, and that's fine.
So it may be, sorry.
Go ahead.
Rudy, that helped. You were just recapping your point of view of the push model, which Ravid and I disagree, but Emily, go ahead.
Emily and Bill, I think Emily, you were first, and then Bill.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So as David, you said, maybe it makes more sense to put a little bit more in a pull model. So to to say the collaboration, to state how collaboration will be done in the MicroProfile and Jakarta context. Because in the pull model at the moment, as stand, I think Rudy has a point. At the moment, it's mentioned nothing about Jakarta. If we can spell out, in this pull model, actually there's a collaboration as well with Jakarta. I think that might make things clearer. The other thing for the push model, could add another sentence to say is the more details about how the define the how bit. I mean, to be discussed more. I don't know. Basically, there's more ideas or more details need to follow if we choose a push model.
Bill?
Yeah, so I'm clearly coming into the middle of this, but I basically agree with Emily and Rudy. From what you've got written there, it's completely clear that the pull model has no collaboration. If you're reading collaboration into that somewhere, you're reading between the lines. Right. If you want it to be in there, you need to make it explicit.
I agree. Yeah, so what I was going to say is to try and make this more clear. I don't think the descriptions are clear enough. So what I think needs to happen is people need to be able to visualize how collaboration would work with either model. Collaboration can't simply be mentioned in one model, right? So collaboration under a push model is MicroProfile would say, you know, this specification is ready to be standardized. We will initiate some sort of transfer, or however, you know, the standardization would happen on MicroProfile terms and whatever. Under a pull model, the collaboration would be on the Jakarta side of the fence. We're driving what stability means. And, you know, we would pluck technologies from the MicroProfile side of the fence as we determine that we need to use them or want to use them in our Jakarta specifications. So, you know, if people can't imagine the two styles of collaboration, because I think collaboration is going to happen regardless. Is there anybody on this call who doesn't want collaboration?
Well, again, the issue is at what level. If it's collaboration from the perspective of limiting what a specification is doing, and a Jakarta specifications usage, you know, has more priority than any other downstream product, then yeah, I don't agree.
Well, right. So hold on.
No, let me do this. Scott, you just spoke. We need to make sure, my name is Amelia. Before we speak, just to state the names. We are expecting that everyone that hears this conversation and recording knows our names. Can we go back to grounding ourselves with name first? Thanks, everyone.
Okay, so this is David. And so what you said, Scott, was basically you're okay with collaboration within certain bounds as long as it doesn't constrain the MicroProfile community. And I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, to me, that's the fundamental difference between push and pull. I mean, what is the focus?
Exactly. For me, I see the push model as collaboration where MicroProfile gets a little bit muddled and constrained in the sense that it's not.
I detest that. I'm going to be blunt here.
I wasn't even able to finish that sentence. Right. Where a push model is MicroProfile is defining the stability requirements, and they may or may not work for the Jakarta EE side of the fence, and it makes MicroProfile be constrained that it's offering stability when it's not built for that. And ultimately, I feel it's super weird for MicroProfile to defining what stability means for Jakarta EE, because then we're having kind of an awkward conversation without what does this mean for Jakarta EE, right? So anyway, I agree with you. Both of them do allow for some level of collaboration. And I don't think I've heard anyone say that they don't want collaboration, just that it needs to be done correctly, to their definition of correctly.
Yeah, I think it's good that we all want to do the collaboration between Jakarta and MicroProfile. However, like in the pool model, the collaboration would be initiated by the consumer. How then? Is it kind of Jakarta say, okay, MicroProfile, I want to consume your API. Well, MicroProfile say, yeah, go ahead to consume it. Obviously, MicroProfile, this is why I constantly mention the signal about, okay, this version is stable enough. Yes, you can consume. Otherwise, yeah, it's all the consumer. You feel free to consume any of the specification you wish.
So Emily, so what we're talking about is your concern that if we don't cater to a particular project, we might lose the project using MicroProfile, and you are using Jakarta EE as an example of a project in open source under Eclipse that is the rebranded of Java EE that will be away from MicroProfile. That is the project's choice. Open source is meant to be used by disciplined users. We're talking about users. So when someone chooses to bring open source into their systems, it is their job to prepare that infra and decide what to use. The ones behind MicroProfiles, the coders, and the ones, everything you can name it, the ones that are pushing the project forward in MicroProfile cannot dictate how a user must find the value and worth of MicroProfile. And what the pool model shows us is that it will be the most aligned to today's 4 years of MicroProfile innovation, drive, and independence. Jakarta EE, if we talk about the releases, has to prove itself so much. We're not even talking about this. We help
Sure.
with MicroProfile. But the thing is that connecting the two under the push is dangerous, as it will destroy why MicroProfile was created in the first place.
All right, that's your opinion, so you're allowed to vote like
It's my opinion.
Hold on.
Yeah,
We should probably lock down the vote text, right? And make sure it represents.
So I'm
Yeah.
gonna start
So-
putting. I apologize, everyone. I'm gonna kind of insert here as a moderator, and I think we ought to be. I think two things: drive toward the verbiage of these two models in our conversation, and B, I think we need to be very succinct, because I could see ourselves having this conversation for 4 more meetings. Right? We're
Yeah.
gonna keep pushing this out, so we need to. I think be very focused here. So with
That's
that
fine.
being said, let's take a look at the text of the pull model. I'm trying to figure out how to get to like one, direct everyone to kind of the text itself,
Mhm.
So maybe let's try it like this.
Let's write it up.
If we look at the pull model text, what is either incorrect or missing from the pull model text?
John, this is Amelia. It's missing that the
I'm
pull,
sorry, pull. Yeah, pulls first. Okay, sorry. Yeah,
the
Type.
pull,
Type.
the pull model.
Type.
Yes, type. The pull model needs to start with the pull model as the closest to today's MicroProfile progress. And it needs to start with this. The pull model just develops and innovates. And if it doesn't say
Type.
type, like the pull model is the closest to MicroProfile.
No, I think David is saying type it in the meeting
Oh.
minutes.
Oh, me. I will type. Okay, I can do it.
For each of these models, I think you have to answer 2 questions. One, you have to answer, how does some kind of standardization occur? Whether it's, you'll decide whether it's driven by MicroProfile or by something external or whatever. How does some sort of standardization occur? And you have to answer, what impact does this choice have on what you do before standardization occurs?
Okay, this gets back into a discussion we had. Define standard, and that's where we started going off the rails in the working. I think it was in the working group thread in the Google group, and then we just got off into this tangent of define standard. Because
Okay, so I don't define standard. Give me another word to use or another phrasing that you prefer.
In this context, standard is specification. That's what we develop.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a spec.
Well, right, but
So I thought MicroProfile was developing specifications to begin with.
yeah, exactly. So what we mean is stable, right? That's the primary thing. Stable, like you're making a backwards compatibility claim.
John, can you show what I just wrote? We lost
Okay.
it.
Oh,
So
it scrolled
let's-
off. Let
Yeah.
me try something.
Decide, how does a commitment to stability occur? And what do you do? How does that process affect what you do before you're committed to stability? Does that help?
Right. Yeah. Like, in one MicroProfile, in the push model, MicroProfile is defining what stability means and making those commitments. And in the pull model, it would be the Jakarta side of the fence defining what the stability means and making those commitments. Ultimately.
Right. So I would assume that in the push model, if you're defining stability yourself, then the work you do before you get to the stability point will be intentionally moving you towards a stability point. In the pull model, if you're not defining stability and you're never hoping to achieve stability, then the work you do may have no direction or no movement towards stability. It may go from left to right and up and down and all over the place with
Right.
no regard to stability.
Bill, you didn't say your name. Come on, listen to us.
That's all right.
Okay.
I apologize. I don't want to go down this naming route. I apologize. It's going to slow us down. Let's go. Let's keep going here.
So for this, sorry.
You go for it.
Yeah. So I'll be quick. For this pool model, so basically, it's does that mean like MicroProfile continue with the current process?
Correct.
I mean, without any change whatsoever, right?
Correct.
And even we say, okay, we do collaboration. However, we collaborate with anybody who wishes to consume. So
Correct.
I wouldn't say this kind of, especially we do collaboration with the Jakarta EE. Anybody can consume if they wish. So in that case, I don't think we especially call Jakarta EE out. Basically, I will think like a push model, we focus on Jakarta. A pull model, actually, we focus whatever. We don't focus at any, actually, because we continue to do whatever we want.
Emily, and the idea part of the pull model, write out one sentence on that, because we said example Jakarta EE, but it needs to fit. We say we collaborate with anyone. And we are just using, the danger with using Jakarta EE as an example alone is that it focuses too much on it, and we shouldn't. We should be fair to anyone can use MicroProfile, any project, as we have today. So if you can write it, I already wrote my part. Come on, Emily, you can do it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to take notes capturing the stability aspect.
Also for the push model, like we haven't decided whether to change the namespace or not, right? So we could even introduce, like in the past, I discussed like a long-term service thing. So we don't need to change the namespace, package name.
Namespace has not, is not in any of these proposals.
No.
Yeah, no.
No. Do you remember
So,
that?
And so far, I'm just gonna gut reaction. I think there's like kind of like 50-50 split on the pull model this way. I'm not sharing video. There we go. I feel like we got like a 50-50 split push versus pull. On the namespace, I feel like we have an entirely different 50-50 split. So I don't think there's a strong intersection between push versus pull and namespace change.
Yeah, but
however,
decision up to whoever you push or pull with.
Exactly, right? If you're pulling, if it's a pull model and Jakarta has to make the decision, then Jakarta decides whatever is the right approach for Jakarta.
But the things, if
you push into Jakarta.
What's that?
It's the same thing. If you push into Jakarta, it was still Jakarta that decided the namespace issue, not you.
Well, and so you kind of hit an interesting topic there, Bill, which is even if MicroProfile decides to do a push model and says, here are our rules for what we mean for stability, Jakarta still has the opportunity to say, we don't agree.
And then
we're doing it this way.
Ecosystem.
And then we have both a push and pull model in effect.
That's the nightmare. That is a tsunami from two different shores, and I don't want to see it. I'm just stating the obvious, and it's nice to be as candid and honest.
Right.
Let's stop clamoring.
All right.
However, in the pull model, like whatever Jakarta want to do, for instance, Jakarta consume, Jakarta can decide change the namespace. However, in MicroProfile, we continue with our spec. So this is slightly different. Like the names, who owns that namespace?
Again, if we do a push model, it's still up to Jakarta to decide we don't like those rules, and to do whatever Jakarta would want to do, including changing the namespace. It could be that, you know, that's on the table.
So here's a question on the push model. When we say push, what does that mean? Are we saying, here's the spec, we are releasing any obligation in the MicroProfile community from the spec, here you go, in Jakarta, it is now your responsibility. I don't mean that in a bad way, right? It's now your role to evolve that spec, right? Is that what push means?
Well, that's one implementation of a push. Another implementation might be to do Emily's LTS concept or other things like that, that basically involve the MicroProfile trying to decide ways that stability can occur within the MicroProfile community. If we did do, say, for example, Emily's LTS concept of, and that was the push model, here we are giving you some stability, we're making a stability commitment. It is still up to the Jakarta side of the fence to decide that doesn't meet our requirements. We don't want to do that. We don't want LTS concepts in Jakarta. It's not confusing already.
You know, like, this is Amelia again. With the push model, I feel that it will be a bad choice for MicroProfile. This is my call, but because we will have only one consumer, we will alienate everyone else that today is using MicroProfile for different benefits. We know some users that use only 2 or 3 different APIs and not the 12. Now we are talking, if we go to the push model, that means that it's likely all the APIs, currently 12, actually active, and a few more being created, will have to redirect themselves. And that means those contributors and committers, we have to fall in line like never before in 4 years and do what they are being told. Because it's like Jakarta is paying with voice the MicroProfile committers and contributors to do what they want us to do, and we have no choice. This is like a client buy an open source, and we cater to the clients. That is a problem with this, and we need to understand what it means for MicroProfile. Should we decide that is
all right? We got 20 minutes left, and you've raised that point a few times already.
I do, and I will continue to raise.
Let's not raise it a third.
I want to, if I may, I want to mention a few things. We more and more get requests from MicroProfile users about integrating other things like GPA or whatever. So those 12 specs of MicroProfile are not enough. They are not usable or not always usable on their own. You need all the rest. So if you have your push model, you say indeed, if Jakarta doesn't accept what you're proposing, then that can be a problem. But in that push model, you probably work together so that you say as a MicroProfile, when we push something, that it will be accepted by the Jakarta side. And it will probably avoid the namespace, the package changes, because we now have a lot of users who are using both of them in combination. And that's the main goal for many vendors, to combine those two. That if you require with that, in that pull model, the requirement of a fork with another namespace, then you will disappoint a lot of your users, and it will not only affect Jakarta, but also MicroProfile.
I think that you make an assumption about what's going to happen with the namespace change versus and push versus pull, and it is a fine thing to say. However, I suspect that people may disagree on the namespace change concept.
Which gets me back. I thought we were not going to bring the namespace change into this discussion.
Correct.
Right.
And then,
so I mean, it's okay for you to vote that you think one may occur, but I just want to let you know, Rudy, I don't agree on making some parts of the MicroProfile namespace stable and other parts not stable, and people not knowing which one is which. I agree with what the JVM team is doing, for example, using one namespace for stable and a completely different namespace for unstable. And if you started using unstable and you treat it as stable, you get what you deserve.
Yeah. the point there is that with the JVM team, that's only unstable for 6 months. So no one is using those short releases of 6 months. Only
They could be longer than 6
JDK 8
months.
or 11 or 17. No one is really using the other ones and is using the unstable ones. That's a difference with MicroProfile.
Yeah, but I don't think that.
Okay.
I don't think that there's actually a limit of 6 months on the unstable APIs. I think that they can live longer than 6 months.
Yes, they just have to be renewed every 6 months.
Right, so they can continue past 6 months, which means that there could be a there could be an unstable feature that is refined over the course of several releases and eventually is made stable. Is that correct, Bill?
Yes, but since they're clearly doing the push model, the whole point of this is to get it to stable, and they know that from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
So just to point, so you heard that clearly, Rudy, that's a push model that involves a package change. So I would still agree with Bill. If we did a push model, I would also want a package change. Sounds like Bill would want a package change. So if you push for a push model, hoping that that's the one that gets you no package change, understand that that conversation isn't going to change.
I think for the LTS it does not involve the package change. So that's is basically we signal, okay, this is stable, but we retain the package name. That's the main difference between the first option, give control to Jakarta. So that would be a completely rename all the MicroProfile package to Jakarta. But for the LTS, it's not.
Yeah, but I think, this is Scott, I think the main issue here is for me, the push model is about you're effectively a offshoot of the Jakarta project that's focusing on innovation and potentially an unstable namespace, but you are going to have to come up with a model that is producing specifications with the intent to be consumed by Jakarta. So following Bill's example, it is that you have unstable APIs. We probably introduce a new package space and maintain the existing MicroProfile namespaces package. But again, that's a working issue. But I think for me, that's the only way the push model makes sense, and that's the relationship between Jakarta E and the collaboration.
Right, and to be clear, I want that ability with Jakarta EE, whether it's with MicroProfile or with something else.
I think that's fine. I think there are a lot of specifications that we already have. We're getting a little off topic, but I think we have a lot of specifications on the Jakarta side of the fence that would need the ability to try things out. And so that need is going to be there regardless.
Yep, I agree.
So, okay. So I think as I want to say a little bit more about the LTS. I would for me, I think I agree with Rudy. I think the package name change is going to disturb a lot of end users. If we can keep the namespace and also hopefully also get consumed to Jakarta. So if we use the LTS and basically we say, okay, all these APIs are stable and we continue evolve. Why do we need to put to the different package and etc. Put different APIs in the different package and etc.
I think that no human can understand the concept of the same namespace being both stable and unstable at the same time. I think that I think it's tempting for us on we're the ones making these rules for us to see them as clear. But in my experience, a big enterprise has a lot going on, and communication is one of their biggest challenges on a continuous basis. So they won't necessarily understand, they won't necessarily understand our rules about what we consider to be stable and not stable under the same namespace. I think we'd just be, setting us up, or setting them up for failure, basically. And so, I would have reservations about stable and non-stable happening in the same namespace, such that there is no clear and easy rule. If I see code in this package, that code can change. If I see code in that package, that code is safe.
Okay, so I'm going to do two things here. First of all, time check, 15 minutes to go. Second is, no matter what we discuss, the topic seems to float back to namespace, right? No matter how we do it. So the question is, do we really need to make the namespace a key part of this discussion? We've been trying to keep it out to narrow what we're talking about, just to get something moving forward. But no matter what we do, the namespace issue keeps coming up. So do we have to have some sense of namespace in these two models?
Do we want to do like a poll with two separate questions? Like in the community, not Twitter. Excuse me, not Twitter.
Yeah.
In the community, it's like, it's not necessarily a vote, but we want to get an idea of where people's heads are at.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good idea. Like keep the namespace or change the namespace.
Yeah, but like, it's not an opinion problem, though. I mean, there's a technical issue here. I mean, you really need to get down to the, what is your module system? Is it OAGI? Is it OSGI? Is it JPMS? I mean, there's very technical mapping of what that compatibility is with respect to, a given implementation that I don't think is practical to discuss at this level.
Me too. For some reason, I'm getting extremely frustrated. And maybe it's because I'm exhausted, just flew back from DevNexus. But I'm getting frustrated with our not ability to limit ourselves and refocus on describing push and pull without bringing the elephant in the room. I don't even know why this is relevant.
Group, so I think that's
why is this relevant? I don't see.
Hold on, let's get some more voices in.
Yeah, because for me, pull and push cannot be a standalone concept. You need to take into account the things that it will affect in the future. If you just look at those two things, they are not complete. People cannot decide which of the two if they do not all the consequences for what they are choosing.
Yeah, but haven't we been talking about how the namespace change are proposed? I mean, it can be used in both models depending on how those models get implemented, and so that's what I'm kind of concerned about. I'm going to go back to David when you had your video up and you're trying to do your 50% one way and 50% the other way. I think if we focus, and this is what Amelia was talking about, if we focus on the push versus pull first to see if we can get a direction there, and then look at how the namespace change might be affected by that model.
Or we can do it vice versa.
Can I just quickly say something? If I remember correctly, even if we do a push model, I think I was told the namespace can be retained. Even if we graduate for example config spec to Jakarta, and then we bring to the Jakarta community, I think we have the flexibility to keep the MicroProfile namespace. I think we'll check with Eclipse Foundation.
That's not the issue, though. It's more a question of what discussion is going to be had as to whether or not that's the best thing to do.
All right. So here's the deal. We do need to. The namespace isn't going to get affected either way, and I do want to reiterate a point that Bill made. If we decide a push model and we decide we're not going to change the namespace, the Jakarta side of the fence has the ability to do a pull regardless, meaning decide completely different rules. And this is not the right forum for us to be deciding what is right for Jakarta. And that's kind of one of the reasons for me, I lean towards a pull. Let Jakarta make all the rules. So we should decide this, because if we don't, we're going to go forever not making a single decision. So I think what we need is just maybe like a half page for each model, push and pull, get them to be in good shape, and then drive a vote. It needs to be very, very clear that this does not affect the namespace. It needs to be very clear that this does not affect the working group. And the push model needs to capture the point that Bill made, which is, even if we invent a very complicated and very elaborate system for a push, Jakarta still has the ability to say no.
Because as a client. So, David, are you assigning yourself to do the write-up?
I will do my best.
There you go. John, did you do that?
I'm not going to be on next week's call, because I'll do this thing that's I've heard of it. It's called vacation, but I've been looking to try it out.
Yes.
And so, but ultimately, I think I'm hearing everybody.
Yes. So then let's write. We have a task list, John, at the beginning for you. Let's add David to own the summary of this call and create something. But via PR, are you going to do this via a PR like we have done in the past? Because I don't believe that just the forum suffices. It needs to be a PR and then send to the link.
I tell you what, it's a little difficult to comment on those PRs. I think probably we need a doc like this.
Well, here's exactly what I was thinking of as this call was going. I was going to do a Google Doc.
Yeah.
Somebody would own the doc. I'll volunteer, but anybody can. Create a baseline, and people make comments, and then we can decide in the and it may get too wordy, but we'll see, right? And then we make, based on the comments in the Google Doc, make adjustments to the text. We can't have 15 people editing text. So I'll be happy to be the editor, unless someone else wants to do it. And let's just try it that way. And we're going to have to do this between calls, or we're going to be here till December.
Agree.
Having these discussions. So we're going to have to work between calls to shore this up to something that people can vote on.
Sounds wonderful. Okay, so then you own it, and then you add volunteers. We need to make it sure that it's suggested mode, and that not the entire world has access to edits, because it would be.
I'm not even going to do suggestion mode. I'm going to do comments.
Comments. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Make it restricted, because we don't have the bandwidth to control. We need to know who is saying what and why. So yeah.
Let's set a target. Not that there's any forcing function for it to happen, but let's set a target to have a pretty shored up text that we can collaborate around during the second half of the working group call live hangout next week. I'm hoping we get enough contributions and discussion to have a pretty good solid set of text on both for next week.
Okay.
You're talking about vote for next week?
No. Just to have the text that we want to final, be near a final. The push versus pull near finalized text that we can agree on. We can discuss next week whether we agree on it and if we have to make any fine tuning.
Okay. And we will work as synchronous on it. And then in the call too.
Yeah. On the list.
Yeah, from today on. So then who sends that email to the forum? John?
I'll do that. I'll create the doc. I'll send it to the forum saying, hey, this is what we discussed, along with the link to the recording and all that. It'll be a little bit later today because I have to push up the recording.
Of course.
And then and then we'll just take it from there. So I'll own that.
That sounds amazing.
Thanks, John.
So,
no problem.
Kevin. Oh, and Kevin, we missed you at DevNexus.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I actually think this is to bring this up. I think this is a pretty good place to probably stop, even though we're 5 minutes early.
Last time we went 7 minutes, so it's okay to cut it.
Because if we don't, we're probably going to change our minds.
Let's stop here. I'm happy,
right.
no longer frustrated. I was very frustrated.
All right. So I think that's great. John, you're going to wrap it up, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for participating, and
Yeah.
Special thank you to Bill, because I know sometimes you don't really know if you should feel comfortable speaking or not, but I really like your opinions here. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And from my side, thank you for enabling me to say I'm frustrated. I don't understand, especially you, Rudy, when I didn't understand you, or Emily. And then we say, I am frustrated. This is why. And let's talk over it. And can we refocus? And Scott, of course, I adore you. So thank you to everyone. I am leaving this call to another coffee, and I'm no longer frustrated. And this is what it means to not be alone and frustrated. Thank you.
All right. So as Amelia enters her Zen moment, let's all, I'm going to close the call here. Thank you, everyone, for joining the call. We're going to meet in 1 week for the live hangout. We'll reserve 30 minutes for this discussion. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Okay, thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Happy birthday, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Bye.